Hello friends! Now I'm going to tell you about the nastiest scam in cryonics that Alcor and Kriorus love, according to their reports. This scam will probably be handled by tomorrow by stasis, unless the customers make it clear that this is not acceptable to them. This scam affects the most sensitive thing that happens to us, the sudden death of a loved one. It affects all people who don't have a cryopreservation contract, and the name of the scam is an ambulance service. The point is that organizations in cryonics compare the process of cryonization of a person to an ambulance. If a person is legally dead, he is not dead medically. He can be treated in the future. To do that, you need to arrive as soon as possible and start cooling the body as quickly as possible to avoid body decomposition.
We couldn't wait. In cryonics, every minute counts. We had to get him frozen as quickly as possible to keep his brain alive.
Just as an ambulance rushes to rescue a person when called, a cryonicist's car leaves as soon as a person is in trouble. Both the cryonicists themselves and the media refer to the vehicles used in cryonics as ambulances, and the people they go to as patients. And the person who doesn't know much about cryonics imagines it that way and thinks that if something happens, they can be called at any time, just like an ambulance. The words cryonics ambulance are presented in this way. As soon as someone dies, the relative calls the cryonics ambulance. They arrive in about 20 minutes, help settle any possible legal issues and get a death certificate. After that, they put ice on the body and start cryoprotection. At the same time, the client pays the money for cryoprotection, possibly signing a simple contract, since cryoprotection is not much different than a standard perfusion procedure with embalmers. Once the cryoprotection is complete, the body is covered with dry ice and the cryonics ambulance leaves. The person can now take their time to find the right amount of money for long-term storage or keep the body in personal storage altogether if they so desire. The words cryonics ambulance prompt just such associations. They came quickly, cooled the body, did the procedure they were ordered to do and left. How could it be in any other way? Yes, it can. I will tell you how it really works right now and what happens if a trusted person who doesn't have a contract decides to call Alcor or Kriorus. To avoid any speculations, I will take as an example the most ideal case. In this case, a relative of the deceased is not prevented by any external circumstances. Let's call this relative John, and let's say John is trying to save his father. John was lucky in the beginning, and he almost immediately after the death of his loved one discovered his body. It has not decomposed at all, and there is a possibility of cryoprotection. The police and ambulance arrive in 10 minutes, and in another 20 minutes John gets a death certificate. No autopsy has been scheduled. Everything works out as perfectly as possible. John calls Kriorus or Alcor and inspired says, "Oh, hello, I have an emergency. I need you to come and see me right now. Here is my address. Just so I understand, how soon can you arrive? 20 minutes? 30? And they answer the phone.
You were right to call us. We are professionals. Transfer the money to our bank account and we'll come right away.
I have a man dying here. I need you to come quickly.
Until you transfer the money, we are not going anywhere. We work only on prepayments. So hurry up, time is running out."
Well, it's definitely not what I expected, but I guess I have no choice right now. So, okay, look, all I need to do is cool a man down, cryoprotect him and put him on dry ice. How much would those particular services cost?
No, we don't work that way. We'll only move if we pay for all services we have, which are body delivery, nitrogen cooling, and long-term storage.
But I don't need these services. I will store body myself, in my own house, in my own cryocapsule. All I need is cryoprotection.
Yeah, sure, store it yourself, and then you do something wrong and everybody will blame us.
What?
Either pay for all services that we have, or we hang up on you.
What the hell?
There is no choice. Time is running out and John has to pay. Let's say John is lucky again and it is not night or weekend and banks are working, because most banks transfer money only on weekdays during working hours. Suppose John is lucky again and he is rich enough to spend from $18,000 to $40,000 in Russia, or from $80,000 to $220,000 in America. Let's say John is lucky for the first time and he physically has money in his bank account. Even millionaires can have a negative balance in the bank because they can take a loan to open a new business or to expand an existing one. But let's imagine that our hero is very rich and has the right amount of money in his bank account. John puts eyes on the dead person's head, as he was told to do on the phone, opens the banking app on his phone or runs to the bank. He transfers the money to the organization's account. Furthermore, he gets lucky again and the bank doesn't block a suspicious transaction of a couple of $100,000 to an unknown account. And luck again, the money comes within half an hour, not the next working day. Let's see what will happen next with the luckiest man in the world, who has everything going perfectly. John goes home and calls the cryonics organization again.
I transferred the money. Did you get it?
Yes, we got your money. Thank you, we are very happy.
Come here as soon as possible.
Don't worry, we are getting the equipment and we are on our way. We'll be there in about 8 to 10 hours.
I'm sorry, do you mean 8 to 10 minutes?
No, you heard right. We'll be there in about 8 to 10 hours. Maybe later, so it's not guaranteed. We don't have refunds, by the way. Once you paid, you wait.
But I saw on your website that you have clients from my town. Didn't you find local specialists for them?
No, we didn't. Why would we?
So that he could come quickly. There is no time.
We might not have the time, but we have the money.
What?
Okay, don't worry. Just change the ice on your relative's head and we will be there on the first flight.
It may surprise you, but none of the cryonics organizations have a policy of making arrangements with local embalmers or doctors in the city where customers live. They do drive several hours to their clients and consider it perfectly normal. For example, Alcor has 350 clients in California and they still fly to them by air from other states. Back to our hero. What is John doing while he waits for the cryonics ambulance to arrive? He does exactly what he was told. He changes the ice on his loved one's head to keep it cool. In this emotional moment of loss, John can relax or at least take his mind off reality. He can't sleep because he has to change the ice every 20 minutes. John can't get distracted at work, for example, because he has to change the ice. He can't go to a psychologist or a friend, just go for a walk, because he needs to change the damn ice. His loved ones call him, colleagues call him from work, harass him with their regrets and words of support, but all John can do is to invite them over to his place to change the ice together. After several hours of agony, the long-awaited moment comes,
and the cryonics experts arrive. They ate well at the airport and slept well on the airplane. They're doing great. But don't think they're going to start work right away because, yes, you guessed right, there is paperwork to sign first. And it's not just one page. There are 7 documents, totaling 71 pages on Alcor's website. It's not a joke, it's for real. And there are some optional documents too. Theoretically, you can read it all in between ice changes, but can you understand everything while under such stress? Of course not. But let's say that John, who is very tired, emotionally and physically, who hasn't slept in a long time, and can barely stand on his feet anymore, will not even read the contracts. He'll just sign without even knowing what he's signing. Because what's the point of reading a contract? To disagree with something and demand changes? So much time has passed waiting. Why wait any longer? And so these specialists, the cryonics ambulance experts, get all the necessary signatures, examine the body and say, man, you know, it's been over 10 hours since death. It's good that you've been changing the ice all this time, but we still can't do proper cryoprotection because the body has decomposed too much. You know, you just took too long to call us and transfer the money. That's the point. Yeah, we could have done it in time, but it's your fault for not signing the contract in advance. Of course, technically we could do the cryoprotection, but there are no blood vessels there and the body has decomposed. The cryoprotectant will only go through the large trunk vessels. It won't do it any good for the brain cells. On the one hand, it's good for us to cryoprotect. It will be a plus in our statistics. Technically, the cryoprotectant will be in the body, so we have done cryoprotection. On the other hand, this cryoprotectant is quite expensive and you have already paid for it anyway. Let's just put dry ice on the body. That will be fine. The nanorobots will fix it in the future, so don't worry. And so these experts do what John could have done all alone. They Google a local dry ice supplier and order an emergency delivery of dry ice. Then they Google the local coffin supplier and order a rush delivery of a coffin. Then they put the body in that coffin and pour the dry ice from the bag over it. And then they say, that's it, we did everything. And yes, you got that right, John could have done it all himself without much effort. He could call and order an emergency delivery of a coffin and dry ice on his own, or take the body to a morgue that has a service to store the body in dry ice. He didn't have to call the cryonics organization, go to the bank, pay money and wait for the transaction to go through. He didn't have to change the ice every 20 minutes or wait hours for an ambulance. Furthermore, he didn't have to blindly sign obscure contracts. John could just call and place a couple orders for a few $100s, and that would be it. And in a couple of hours he would be free. And then he would have negotiated a discount and paid the cryonics organization just to store the body. Or he could order a cryo capsule and store the body himself. Do you know why Alcor and Kriorus are doing this? I'll tell you why. Here is a document Alcor put up on their website. The cost of full body cryopreservation is $220,000, $60,000 of which is the cooling procedure itself. If they're doing cryoprotection, it's still somehow justifiable because the M22 cryoprotectant they are using is very expensive. Besides, you need specialists and equipment for that. But in the case when they don't do cryoprotection, you just need 100 kilograms of dry ice, the cheapest coffin, and the person who will pour this dry ice out of the bag. In America, that would cost several $100s, but they charge $60,000 for the same services, 100 times more. Well, let's be honest and add in the cost of the liquid nitrogen cooling they do before they put a person in a dual tank. I don't know how much it costs, but it's certainly not more than $4,000. Still, Alcor makes $55,000 in net profit. And that's without paying for airplane tickets and body delivery, because they are paid for separately. There is a $25,000 so-called CMS service. It includes standby and transportation. But since a person who's already dead doesn't need a standby, it's just going to be transportation for $25,000. That's significantly higher than the average price in the market. And that's already about $70,000 of net profit. In addition, Alcor charges another $50,000 from people who call the ambulance without a contract. That's $110,000. That's pretty good money, right? $110,000 of net profit in one day. Now you see why this scheme is so popular. But you know what's the worst part of this scam is? The fact that if John had not called the cryonics organization at all, but had done everything himself, his loved one would have had a much better chance of a successful revival in the future. Because all this time, while John was calling, transferring money, waiting for the arrival of super expensive dry ice delivery experts, and concluding the contract, the body of the loved one was decomposing. If John had immediately put dry ice on the body would have been preserved much better. What's that supposed to mean? Alcor and Kriorus, according to their own reports, are taking huge sums of money to ruin a person's cryopreservation, to make him worse? Perhaps it is because of the hours of waiting that a person cannot be revived in the future and will die forever. Just think about it. The people who are supposed to save the lives of others don't mind killing them at all for the sake of super profits. Even if the person survives, he won't remember anything because his brain decomposed while they were on the airplane. And I have described the most ideal case. In reality, the body is usually found hours or even days later. Doctors take the deceased to the autopsy, and the bank transfer can arrive the next day. These people come in knowing exactly that they will do harm. They know what they are doing.